the annals of history, certain figures emerge from the mists of time, shrouded in enigma and intrigue. Their stories, often fragmented and incomplete, tantalize us with glimpses of a past both familiar and profoundly alien. Such is the case with Melchizedek, a name whispered in hushed tones by theologians and historians alike. He is a figure who strides across the pages of ancient texts, leaving an indelible mark on the narratives of faith and history. Melchizedek's tale is one of power and mystery, a potent blend of the spiritual and the temporal. He is introduced to us as a king and a priest, a ruler of men and a conduit to the divine. Yet, the details of his life, his origins, and his ultimate fate remain frustratingly elusive. Like fragments of a shattered mosaic, we are left to piece together the scattered references to Melchizedek, seeking to understand his place in the grand tapestry of human experience. Who was this enigmatic figure who so captivated the imaginations of ancient chroniclers? Was he a historical king, a flesh and blood ruler who walked the earth in a time before recorded history? Or was he something more? A symbol, perhaps, of a timeless truth, a spiritual archetype embodying the eternal principles of priesthood and kingship. These are the questions that have echoed through the corridors of time, questions that continue to fascinate and inspire us today. In this exploration of Melchizedek, we embark on a journey into the heart of this ancient mystery, seeking to shed light on the life and legacy of this most enigmatic of figures. Our journey begins in the pages of the Bible, specifically in the book of Genesis, where we encounter Melchizedek for the first time. He appears in the aftermath of a great battle, a time of upheaval and uncertainty. Abram, the patriarch of the Israelites, has just returned from a victorious campaign, having rescued his nephew Lot from the clutches of 4 powerful kings. It is at this pivotal moment, with the dust of battle still settling, that Melchizedek emerges, a figure of peace and benediction amidst the chaos. He is described as the King of Salem and the Priest of God Most High, a title that speaks to his dual role as both a temporal and spiritual leader. Melchizedek blesses Abram, offering him bread and wine, gestures laden with symbolic weight, hinting at the sacred covenant between God and humanity. This brief but significant encounter raises more questions than it answers. Who was this King of Salem? What was the nature of his priesthood? And why was he chosen to bless Abram, the father of the chosen people? These questions have intrigued biblical scholars and theologians for centuries, leading to a rich tapestry of interpretations and speculations. To fully appreciate the significance of Melchizedek, we must step outside the confines of the biblical text and journey back in time to the ancient Near East. We must immerse ourselves in the world of Abram, a world of nomadic tribes, powerful city-states, and a complex tapestry of religious beliefs and practices. It is against this backdrop that the figure of Melchizedek takes on a new and compelling dimension. Our exploration will take us to the ruins of ancient cities, where archaeologists have unearthed tantalizing clues to the past. We will delve into the writings of ancient historians and poets, seeking to understand the religious and cultural milieu in which Melchizedek lived and ruled. We will examine the Dead Sea Scrolls, those enigmatic texts that have offered fresh insights into the beliefs and practices of Second Temple Judaism. Throughout our journey, we will be guided by the insights of leading scholars, experts in biblical studies, archaeology, and ancient history. They will help us to navigate the complex web of evidence and interpretation, separating fact from speculation, and shedding light on the enduring mystery of Melchizedek. Was he a historical king, a forgotten ruler, whose memory has been preserved in the biblical narrative? Was he a priestly figure, a forerunner of the Levitical priesthood that would later emerge in Israel? Or was Melchizedek, as some have suggested, a manifestation of the divine, a theophany, a glimpse of the divine presence in human form? These are just some of the questions we will grapple with as we seek to unravel the enigma of Melchizedek. Our journey will be one of discovery and wonder, a testament to the enduring power of faith, history, and the human search for meaning. Our first introduction to the enigmatic figure of Melchizedek occurs in the book of Genesis, the foundational text of the Hebrew Bible. This ancient narrative, replete with tales of patriarchs and prophets, introduces us to a world both familiar and profoundly alien, a world where the divine and the mundane intersect in unexpected ways. It is against this backdrop of ancient history and divine intervention that Melchizedek emerges, a figure shrouded in mystery and imbued with an aura of sacred authority. Genesis 14:18-20 paints a vivid picture of this encounter, describing Melchizedek as the king of Salem and the priest of God Most High. These titles alone speak volumes, hinting at a figure who straddles the realms of the temporal and the spiritual, a ruler of men and a conduit to the divine. The setting of the encounter is significant. Abram, the patriarch of the Israelites, has just returned from a victorious campaign, having defeated a coalition of kings and rescued his nephew Lot. It is in the aftermath of this great battle, with the dust still settling and the air thick with the smell of blood and victory, that Melchizedek appears, offering bread and wine to the weary warrior. This simple act, laden with symbolic weight, speaks to Melchizedek's unique role. He is not simply a king greeting a returning hero. He is a priest, a mediator between God and humanity, offering sustenance and blessing to Abram. The bread and wine, staples of life in the ancient world, take on a deeper significance in this context, prefiguring the sacramental elements of later religious traditions. Section 2. A Messianic Psalm. Centuries after the enigmatic encounter between Abram and Melchizedek, the memory of this mysterious priest-king continued to resonate within the religious consciousness of ancient Israel. Psalm 110, a psalm traditionally attributed to King David, offers a tantalizing glimpse into how Melchizedek's legacy was understood and reinterpreted in a later era. Psalm 110, verse 4, stands out as a particularly significant verse, directly referencing Melchizedek in the context of a messianic prophecy. The psalmist writes, "The Lord has sworn and will not relent. You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek." This verse, brief yet profound, elevates Melchizedek beyond the realm of a mere historical figure and casts him as a prototype, a foreshadowing of a future messianic king who will also bear the mantle of priesthood. The implications of this connection are profound. By invoking Melchizedek, the psalmist is drawing a parallel between this ancient priest-king and the anticipated Messiah, suggesting that the coming deliverer will embody both temporal and spiritual authority, just as Melchizedek did. This verse would later become a cornerstone of Christian theology, providing a scriptural basis for understanding the dual nature of Jesus Christ as both King and Priest. The significance of Psalm 110, verse 4 lies not only in its explicit mention of Melchizedek, but also in the questions it raises. Why centuries after his brief appearance in Genesis would Melchizedek be invoked in a Messianic Psalm? What qualities did he embody that made him a fitting archetype for the future King of Israel? Section 3. Hebrews. Unveiling the Eternal Priesthood. The enigmatic figure of Melchizedek, first encountered in the ancient narratives of Genesis and later referenced in the Messianic prophecies of the Psalms, takes on a new and profound significance in the New Testament book of Hebrews. This epistle, addressed to a community of Jewish Christians facing persecution and doubt, delves deeply into the person and significance of Melchizedek, presenting him as a key to understanding the priesthood of Jesus Christ. The author of Hebrews dedicates an entire chapter, Hebrews 7, to unraveling the mysteries surrounding Melchizedek. He begins by recounting the familiar story from Genesis 14, highlighting Melchizedek's dual role as king and priest, and emphasizing the fact that Abraham, the father of the Jewish people, paid tithes to him. This act of submission, the author argues, demonstrates the superiority of Melchizedek's priesthood even over the Levitical priesthood that would later be established in Israel. However, the author of Hebrews goes beyond simply reiterating the Genesis account. He delves into the symbolism of Melchizedek's name, interpreting it as meaning King of Righteousness and King of Peace. Furthermore, he draws attention to the fact that Scripture is silent about Melchizedek's genealogy, stating that he was without father or mother, without genealogy, without beginning of days or end of life. This enigmatic description, open to multiple interpretations, forms the basis for the author's central argument. Melchizedek, he posits, prefigures Jesus Christ, who is also a priest forever, not according to the Levitical order, which was earthly and temporary, but according to an eternal and unchanging priesthood. Jesus, like Melchizedek, is presented as a priest-king, a mediator between God and humanity, whose priesthood transcends the limitations of time and earthly lineage. The book of Hebrews presents a complex and nuanced understanding of Melchizedek, drawing upon both Old Testament narratives and theological interpretation to illuminate the person and work of Jesus Christ. By connecting Jesus to this ancient and mysterious figure, the author of Hebrews underscores the eternal nature of Christ's priesthood, offering hope and assurance to his audience facing persecution and uncertainty, and Section 1. Salem, the City of Peace. To understand the enigmatic figure of Melchizedek, we must first journey back in time to the ancient Near East, to a region steeped in history and religious significance. Our destination is Salem, the city over which Melchizedek reigned as king and priest. While the exact location of Salem remains a subject of debate among scholars, most agree that it was situated in the vicinity of what would later become the city of Jerusalem. The name Salem itself is suggestive, derived from the Hebrew word shalom, meaning peace. This connection to peace is significant, as it hints at the nature of Melchizedek's reign and the character of the city he ruled. Unlike the surrounding kingdoms, often embroiled in conflict and vying for power, Salem, under Melchizedek's leadership, seems to have been a place of peace and stability, a sanctuary amidst the turmoil of the ancient world. The biblical account in Genesis 14 places Melchizedek's encounter with Abram during the Bronze Age, a period marked by the rise of powerful city-states and the development of long-distance trade networks. Archaeological evidence from this era paints a vivid picture of life in the ancient Near East, revealing a world of both sophistication and brutality. Cities like Jericho and Hazor, with their imposing walls and complex water systems, stand as testaments to the ingenuity of the time. Yet, this was also an era of constant warfare, as rival kings vied for control of resources and trade routes. It is against this backdrop of conflict and uncertainty that Melchizedek emerges as a beacon of peace, a ruler whose authority seems to have been based not on military might, but on a different kind of power, a power rooted in his unique role as both king and priest. Section 2. Priests and Kings. Power and Piety in the Ancient World. Melchizedek's dual role as both king and priest may seem unusual from a modern perspective, but it was not uncommon in the ancient Near East. In many ancient cultures, kingship and priesthood were closely intertwined, with rulers often claiming divine authority and acting as intermediaries between the gods and their people. The role of a priest in these societies was multifaceted. Priests were responsible for conducting religious ceremonies, offering sacrifices to appease the gods, and interpreting divine will through oracles and divination. They were also often entrusted with the education of the elite and the preservation of sacred knowledge. As such, priests wielded considerable influence within these societies, acting as advisors to kings and shaping the religious and cultural landscape. In ancient Canaanite culture, which flourished in the region that would later become Israel, the priesthood was a hereditary profession, with specific families entrusted with the service of particular deities. Priests held a privileged position within Canaanite society, officiating at elaborate temple rituals and playing a central role in the lives of the people. The encounter between Melchizedek and Abram, however, suggests a different understanding of priesthood. Melchizedek is not described as a priest of any particular Canaanite deity, but rather as a priest of God Most High, a title that sets him apart from the traditional Canaanite priesthood. This suggests that Melchizedek's authority stemmed not from lineage or association with a specific deity, but from a more universal and transcendent source. Section 3. The significance of bread and wine. In the biblical account of Melchizedek's encounter with Abram, the seemingly simple act of offering bread and wine takes on a profound significance. These elements, staples of life in the ancient world, transcend their mundane origins and become imbued with spiritual meaning, hinting at the sacred covenant between God and humanity. Bread, made from the fruits of the earth, symbolized sustenance and provision. It represented the basic necessities of life, freely given by a benevolent creator. Wine, on the other hand, evoked themes of joy, celebration, and covenant. In the ancient Near East, wine was often used in religious ceremonies, poured out as libations to the gods, and shared among participants as a sign of unity and agreement. By offering bread and wine to Abram, Melchizedek was not simply providing for the weary warrior's physical needs, but was also extending a gesture of blessing and fellowship. This act, laden with symbolic weight, foreshadowed the sacramental meals of later religious traditions, where bread and wine would become tangible representations of divine grace and covenant. The significance of bread and wine in the Melchizedek narrative extends beyond their immediate context. Throughout the Bible, these elements appear repeatedly, often in connection with covenants, sacrifices, and messianic expectations. In the Passover meal, for example, unleavened bread and wine played central roles, commemorating the Israelites' deliverance from slavery in Egypt and pointing forward to a future redemption. Section 1. A Heavenly Messenger. Melchizedek's sudden appearance and equally sudden disappearance from the biblical narrative have led some scholars to interpret him as a theophany, a visible manifestation of God himself. This interpretation, while not without its challenges, draws support from several intriguing details within the text. Firstly, Melchizedek's name, meaning King of Righteousness and by extension, King of Peace, aligns with attributes often ascribed to God. He is also described as the priest of God Most High, a title that sets him apart from other priests of his time and suggests a unique relationship with the divine. Secondly, Melchizedek's lack of a clear lineage or genealogy, as highlighted in the book of Hebrews, further contributes to his enigmatic aura. Unlike the Levitical priests, whose lineage was meticulously recorded, Melchizedek appears without a past or a future, existing solely within the moment of his encounter with Abram. This timelessness could be interpreted as a characteristic of a divine being, unbound by the constraints of human history. Finally, the profound impact of Melchizedek's brief appearance, blessing Abram and receiving tithes from him, suggests a significance that transcends the ordinary. Abram, the patriarch of the chosen people, acknowledges Melchizedek's spiritual authority, a gesture that would be difficult to explain if Melchizedek were merely a human king. While the theophany interpretation offers a compelling explanation for Melchizedek's enigmatic nature, it is essential to acknowledge that the biblical text does not explicitly confirm this view. The Genesis account simply presents Melchizedek as a mysterious figure, leaving his true nature open to interpretation. The possibility of Melchizedek being a historical figure, a real king who ruled over Salem in the time of Abram, holds a certain allure. This interpretation views the biblical account as a historical record, albeit a fragmented one, of an actual encounter between two powerful rulers of the ancient Near East. Proponents of this view point to the fact that the Genesis narrative places Melchizedek within a specific historical context, mentioning other kings and cities that existed during the Bronze Age. Salem, while its exact location remains debated, is generally understood to have been a significant settlement in the region. Furthermore, the existence of king priests in other ancient Near Eastern cultures lends credence to the idea that Melchizedek could have held a similar dual role. In ancient Mesopotamia, for example, rulers often claimed divine authority and acted as intermediaries between the gods and their people. However, the lack of independent, historical, or archaeological evidence directly corroborating Melchizedek's existence poses a significant challenge to this interpretation. While the Bible mentions him as a contemporary of Abram, no extra-biblical sources confirm his reign or offer details about his life beyond the Genesis account. Despite the lack of external evidence, the possibility of Melchizedek being a historical figure remains an intriguing area of exploration. Future archaeological discoveries or the reinterpretation of existing evidence could potentially shed more light on this enigmatic figure and his place in the history of the ancient Near East. Beyond the debates surrounding his historical or divine nature, Melchizedek stands as a powerful symbol within the Abrahamic faiths. He embodies concepts of righteous leadership, spiritual authority, and the eternal nature of priesthood, transcending the limitations of a specific time and place. Melchizedek's role as a priest of God Most High speaks to a universal and transcendent spiritual authority, one that is not bound by lineage or specific religious rituals. This concept resonated deeply with early Christians, who saw in Melchizedek a prefigurement of Jesus Christ, the eternal high priest whose priesthood transcended the earthly limitations of the Levitical order. The image of Melchizedek offering bread and wine to Abram further reinforces his symbolic importance. This act of blessing and provision foreshadows the Eucharist in Christian tradition, where bread and wine become symbols of Christ's sacrifice and the covenant between God and humanity. Moreover, Melchizedek's mysterious nature, his lack of a clear origin or end, contributes to his symbolic power. He represents a timeless ideal, a spiritual archetype that transcends the constraints of history. His story invites contemplation on the nature of faith, the relationship between the temporal and the eternal, and the search for ultimate meaning in a world often shrouded in mystery. Melchizedek's enduring legacy lies not in definitively answering the questions surrounding his identity, but in prompting us to grapple with them. He remains a figure of fascination and inspiration, a testament to the enduring power of faith, the allure of mystery, and the human quest for understanding the divine. Our exploration of Melchizedek's enigmatic legacy takes us beyond the familiar pages of the Hebrew Bible and into the realm of ancient texts rarely glimpsed by the modern world. Among the most intriguing of these are the Dead Sea Scrolls, a treasure trove of Jewish writings dating back to the Second Temple period. Hidden away for centuries in the Judean desert, these scrolls offer a tantalizing glimpse into the diverse beliefs and interpretations that flourished within Judaism during the time of Jesus. One scroll, in particular, stands out for its direct relevance to our investigation, 11Q13, often referred to as the Melchizedek Scroll. This fragmentary text, composed in Aramaic, presents a highly symbolic and apocalyptic vision of Melchizedek, depicting him not merely as a historical figure, but as a heavenly high priest and a messianic figure destined to return at the end of time. In this scroll, Melchizedek is portrayed as a judge and a warrior, leading the forces of light against the forces of darkness in a final cosmic battle. He is identified with the Son of God, a title that would later be applied to Jesus in Christian tradition. This messianic interpretation of Melchizedek, while predating Christianity, suggests that the idea of a priest-king who would usher in a new era of peace and righteousness was already present within certain strands of Second Temple Judaism. The Melchizedek Scroll, though fragmentary and open to interpretation, provides valuable insights into how this enigmatic figure was understood by at least one Jewish community during a period of immense religious and political upheaval. It highlights the fluidity of religious thought in the ancient world, where traditional figures could be reinterpreted and imbued with new layers of meaning in response to changing circumstances. Section 2. Apocryphal Whispers. Expanding the narrative. Beyond the canonical texts of the Hebrew Bible, a rich body of literature known as the Apocrypha and Pseudepigrapha offers further glimpses into the enduring fascination with Melchizedek. These writings, though not included in the Jewish or Protestant canons, were widely circulated in the ancient world and provide valuable insights into the religious and cultural milieu in which early Christianity emerged. One such text, the second book of Enoch, presents a detailed account of Enoch's ascent into heaven, where he encounters various angels and heavenly beings. Among them is Melchizedek, described as a pre-existent heavenly priest, born of a miraculous virgin birth. This account, though clearly legendary in nature, further emphasizes the idea of Melchizedek's transcendent origins and his close association with the divine. Another apocryphal text, the Apocalypse of Abraham, portrays Melchizedek as a heavenly guide who instructs Abraham in the mysteries of God and the true nature of sacrifice. In this narrative, Melchizedek serves as a priestly mediator, bridging the gap between heaven and earth and revealing divine truths to a chosen patriarch. These apocryphal accounts, though varied in their details, collectively contribute to a more elaborate and mystical portrait of Melchizedek than that found in the canonical scriptures. They reflect a broader cultural fascination with heavenly beings, secret knowledge, and the possibility of transcending the limitations of the material world. Section 3. Rabbinic Reflections, Legends and Lore. Jewish rabbinic literature, comprising the Mishnah, Talmud, and Midrash, offers a treasure trove of interpretations, legends, and stories that shed further light on the enigmatic figure of Melchizedek. These texts, compiled and redacted over centuries by Jewish scholars, provide a window into the evolving understanding of this biblical figure within rabbinic tradition. One prominent theme that emerges from these writings is the identification of Melchizedek with Shem, one of Noah's sons. This association, though not explicitly mentioned in the Hebrew Bible, stems from the idea that Shem, as a patriarch who survived the flood, would have possessed ancient wisdom and spiritual authority. By linking Melchizedek with Shem, the rabbis sought to anchor this mysterious figure within the known genealogy of the biblical narrative. Another rabbinic tradition attributes the founding of a school of righteousness to Melchizedek, where he taught the ways of peace and justice to those who sought him out. This tradition emphasizes Melchizedek's role as a teacher and a moral exemplar, a figure whose influence extended beyond his brief appearance in the biblical text. Rabbinic interpretations of Melchizedek are often characterized by a blend of historical speculation, ethical teachings, and mystical interpretations. These interpretations, though diverse and sometimes contradictory, reflect the enduring fascination with this enigmatic figure and the desire to uncover the deeper meanings embedded within the biblical narrative. Section 4. A Tapestry of Interpretations. As we delve into the ancient texts and interpretations surrounding Melchizedek, we encounter a rich tapestry of ideas, beliefs, and speculations, from the heavenly pronouncements of the Dead Sea Scrolls to the mystical narratives of the Apocrypha and the insightful reflections of rabbinic literature. Each tradition offers its own unique perspective on this enigmatic figure. The very diversity of these interpretations speaks to the enduring power and mystery of Melchizedek. He is a figure who defies easy categorization, a blank canvas upon which different cultures and religious traditions have projected their own hopes, beliefs, and understandings of the divine. Rather than seeking a single, definitive answer to the question of Melchizedek's true nature, we are invited to embrace the richness and complexity of the tradition that surrounds him. By exploring these diverse interpretations, we gain a deeper appreciation for the fluidity of religious thought and the enduring power of ancient stories to inspire wonder, contemplation, and a sense of connection to something larger than ourselves. Unearthing the past. The search for Melchizedek's Salem. While the biblical narrative offers tantalizing glimpses into Melchizedek's world, the search for concrete archaeological evidence directly linking him to a specific time and place has proven elusive. The challenge lies partly in the fact that Salem, the city over which Melchizedek reigned, remains shrouded in mystery. While most scholars agree on its general location in the vicinity of Jerusalem, its precise boundaries and the extent of its influence during the Bronze Age are still debated. Archaeological excavations in Jerusalem have unearthed a wealth of information about the city's long and complex history, revealing layers of occupation dating back millennia. Discoveries such as the Warren's shaft system, an impressive feat of ancient engineering that provided access to a natural spring, and the remains of massive Bronze Age walls, testify to the existence of a significant urban center in the area during the time period when Melchizedek is believed to have lived. However, directly attributing any specific archaeological find to Melchizedek or his reign is highly problematic. The biblical account provides few concrete details about Salem's physical appearance or cultural practices, making it difficult to establish definitive links between archaeological evidence and the biblical narrative. Despite these challenges, archaeologists remain hopeful that future discoveries may shed more light on the world of Melchizedek. New excavation techniques, combined with advances in our understanding of ancient Near Eastern cultures, could potentially uncover evidence that confirms or challenges our current interpretations of this enigmatic figure and his place in history. Material culture and the world of Melchizedek. While direct archaeological evidence related to Melchizedek remains elusive, the material culture of the Bronze Age in the ancient Near East provides valuable context for understanding the world in which he might have lived. Archaeological discoveries from this era offer insights into the religious practices, social structures, and daily lives of people who inhabited the region during this time. One striking feature of the Bronze Age was the prevalence of urban centers, such as Jericho, Hazor, and Megiddo, which served as centers of trade, religion, and political power. These cities were often fortified with massive walls and boasted impressive infrastructure, including water systems, temples, and palaces. The existence of such urban centers suggests a level of social complexity and political organization that aligns with the biblical portrayal of Melchizedek as a king and a priest. Religious beliefs played a central role in Bronze Age societies, as evidenced by the abundance of cultic objects, temples, and altars unearthed by archaeologists. The worship of a pantheon of gods and goddesses was common, with each deity associated with specific aspects of life and nature. Priests held a prominent position within these societies, acting as intermediaries between the divine and the human realms. The material culture of the Bronze Age also reveals a vibrant artistic tradition, reflected in intricate pottery designs, elaborate jewelry, and impressive metalwork. These artifacts provide glimpses into the aesthetic sensibilities and cultural values of the people who created and used them, offering a tangible connection to the past. While we may never unearth a palace or a temple definitively linked to Melchizedek, the material culture of his era provides a rich tapestry of information that helps us imagine the world in which he lived. A world of bustling cities, complex religious beliefs, and a deep appreciation for artistry and craftsmanship. A priestly prototype, prefiguring Christ. Melchizedek, the enigmatic figure who appears briefly yet significantly in the Hebrew Bible, assumes a profound and multifaceted role within Christian theology. While his story is shrouded in mystery and open to interpretation, Christians have long viewed Melchizedek as a prefigurement, a foreshadowing of Jesus Christ, the ultimate high priest and mediator between God and humanity. The book of Hebrews, addressed to a community of Jewish Christians grappling with their faith in the face of persecution, explicitly draws this parallel. The author meticulously unpacks the significance of Melchizedek's encounter with Abraham, emphasizing the fact that Abraham, the father of the Jewish people, paid tithes to this mysterious priest-king, acknowledging his spiritual superiority. This act of submission, the author argues, foreshadows the ultimate priesthood of Jesus Christ, who transcends the Levitical priesthood established under the Mosaic law. Just as Melchizedek's priesthood predates and supersedes the Levitical order, so too does Christ's priesthood represent a new and eternal covenant, one based not on earthly lineage, but on divine appointment. The author of Hebrews further highlights the significance of Melchizedek's unusual name, interpreting it as signifying King of Righteousness and King of Peace. These titles, laden with messianic overtones, prefigure the attributes of Jesus Christ, who is proclaimed as the Prince of Peace and the righteous ruler who will establish God's kingdom on earth. Section 2. The Superior Priesthood, Transcending the Levitical Order. One of the central theological arguments presented in the book of Hebrews revolves around the concept of priesthood. The author seeks to demonstrate the superiority of Christ's priesthood over the Levitical priesthood, which had been central to Jewish religious life for centuries. Melchizedek, the enigmatic priest-king from Genesis, becomes a crucial figure in this argument. The Levitical priesthood, established under the Mosaic law, was hereditary, passed down through the tribe of Levi. Priests performed a vital role in mediating between God and the Israelites, offering sacrifices for the atonement of sins and officiating over religious rituals. However, the author of Hebrews argues that this priesthood, while ordained by God, was ultimately limited and imperfect. Melchizedek, in contrast, is presented as a priest of a different order altogether. He appears suddenly in the Genesis narrative without genealogy or lineage, and disappears just as mysteriously after his encounter with Abraham. This timelessness, the author argues, points to a priesthood that transcends the limitations of human ancestry and the constraints of the Mosaic law. Melchizedek becomes, in a sense, a type of Christ, a foreshadowing of the true and eternal high priest. Just as Melchizedek's priesthood is shrouded in mystery and seemingly unconnected to any earthly institution, so too is Christ's priesthood, rooted in his divine nature and his eternal existence. He is the ultimate mediator, the one who offers the perfect sacrifice for sin, not through the blood of animals, but through his own blood, shed on the cross. Section 3. Melchizedekian Themes in Modern Christianity. The legacy of Melchizedek extends beyond the pages of the New Testament, continuing to resonate within various branches of Christianity today. While interpretations of his significance may vary, several key themes associated with Melchizedek continue to shape Christian thought and practice. One enduring theme is the emphasis on Christ's eternal priesthood. Just as Melchizedek's priesthood transcended the Levitical order, so too does Christ's priesthood offer direct and unmediated access to God. This understanding underpins the Protestant doctrine of the priesthood of all believers, which emphasizes the individual's ability to approach God directly through Christ without the need for an earthly intermediary. Melchizedek's association with righteousness and peace also finds resonance in modern Christianity. His name, King of Righteousness and King of Peace, serves as a reminder of the transformative power of Christ's sacrifice, which reconciles humanity to God and ushers in a new era of peace and justice. Furthermore, the mysterious and enigmatic nature of Melchizedek continues to fascinate and inspire. His story serves as a reminder that God's ways are not always easily understood, and that faith often requires embracing mystery and trusting in the unseen. From liturgical practices to theological reflections, Melchizedek's presence, though often subtle, can be discerned within the rich tapestry of Christian tradition. Melchizedek in Islam. A fleeting mention. Unlike the prominent role he plays in Jewish and Christian traditions, Melchizedek's presence in Islamic thought is notably more subdued. The Quran, Islam's central text, does not explicitly mention Melchizedek by name, nor does it recount his encounter with Abraham found in the book of Genesis. This absence has led to varying interpretations among Islamic scholars regarding his significance within the Islamic worldview. Some scholars argue that while not explicitly named, Melchizedek might be alluded to in certain Quranic verses that speak of righteous individuals who predate Muhammad and whose stories are not fully recounted in Islamic scripture. These verses emphasize that God has sent prophets and messengers to every nation and time, suggesting that figures like Melchizedek, revered in other Abrahamic traditions, could be understood as part of this broader prophetic lineage. Others suggest that the lack of direct mention does not negate Melchizedek's potential significance. They argue that Islam recognizes and respects prophets and messengers found in previous scriptures, even if their stories are not reiterated in the Quran. In this view, Melchizedek's role as a righteous king and priest, as understood in Jewish and Christian traditions, could still hold relevance for Muslims as a testament to God's guidance and revelation throughout history. Despite the lack of explicit mention in the Quran, Melchizedek's story has found its way into some Islamic mystical and philosophical writings, where he is often interpreted allegorically. These interpretations tend to focus on Melchizedek's dual role as king and priest, viewing him as a symbol of spiritual and temporal authority united under divine guidance. A bridge between faiths. Comparative Perspectives. Examining how Melchizedek is perceived across different religions offers a fascinating glimpse into the interplay of continuity and diversity within the Abrahamic faiths. While each tradition interprets his significance through his own theological lens. Certain common threads emerge, highlighting shared roots and offering potential avenues for interfaith dialogue. The concept of a primordial priesthood, embodied by Melchizedek, resonates across Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. He represents a spiritual authority that predates the establishment of formal religious institutions, pointing to a more universal and transcendent understanding of humanity's relationship with the divine. Melchizedek's association with righteousness, peace, and divine blessing also transcends specific religious boundaries. These virtues, upheld as ideals in all three Abrahamic faiths, find a powerful embodiment in the figure of Melchizedek, who is revered as a righteous king and a priestly mediator between God and humanity. Furthermore, the enigmatic and mysterious nature of Melchizedek's story continues to intrigue and inspire across faith traditions. His sudden appearance and disappearance, his lack of a clear lineage, and the symbolic weight of his actions invite contemplation and interpretation, transcending cultural and historical boundaries. While theological differences undoubtedly exist in how Melchizedek is understood and integrated into each faith's worldview, his enduring presence across these traditions serves as a reminder of shared origins, common values, and the ongoing human search for meaning in the face of life's profound mysteries. Exploring these commonalities can foster greater understanding and appreciation for the richness and diversity of human religious experience. Melchizedek, an enduring enigma. As we conclude our exploration of Melchizedek, we are left with a profound sense of wonder and a recognition of the enduring power of mystery. This enigmatic figure, whose brief appearance in the biblical narrative has captivated imaginations for millennia, continues to elude easy categorization, his true nature remaining a subject of debate and interpretation. We have delved into the depths of ancient texts, seeking clues to his identity within the pages of the Hebrew Bible, the Dead Sea Scrolls, apocryphal writings, and rabbinic literature. We have journeyed back in time, exploring the historical and cultural context of the ancient Near East, seeking to place Melchizedek within the world of the patriarchs and the rise of ancient civilizations. And we have traced his influence through history, examining how his story has been interpreted and reinterpreted within Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions. Yet, despite our best efforts, Melchizedek remains an enigma, a figure shrouded in a veil of symbolism and speculation. Was he a historical king, a forgotten ruler whose memory has been preserved in sacred texts? Was he a divine being, a manifestation of God himself, sent to bless Abraham and foreshadow the coming of a greater priest-king? Or was he, as some have suggested, a literary archetype, a symbol of spiritual authority and the eternal priesthood that transcends the limitations of time and human lineage? The answers to these questions remain elusive, hidden within the mists of time and the ambiguities of ancient texts. Perhaps in the end, the true significance of Melchizedek lies not in definitively uncovering his historical or theological identity, but in grappling with the questions he continues to pose. A timeless legacy. Melchizedek's enduring legacy lies not in providing concrete answers, but in prompting us to confront the deepest mysteries of faith, history, and the human condition. His story, though brief, touches upon themes that resonate deeply within the human experience. The search for meaning and purpose, the relationship between the temporal and the eternal, and the desire to connect with something larger than ourselves. The image of Melchizedek, the king of Salem and priest of God Most High, continues to inspire contemplation on the nature of leadership, the source of true authority, and the possibility of a world where peace and righteousness prevail. His mysterious origins and the lack of a clear lineage remind us that true spiritual authority is not always bound by tradition or earthly institutions, but can emerge from unexpected sources, challenging our preconceived notions and inviting us to look beyond the confines of our limited perspectives. The act of Melchizedek, offering bread and wine to Abraham, a simple gesture laden with profound symbolic weight, continues to resonate within religious rituals and spiritual practices across faith traditions. It speaks to the power of hospitality, the importance of recognizing the divine spark in every human being, and the enduring hope for reconciliation and communion between God and humanity. Melchizedek's story, passed down through millennia, serves as a testament to the enduring power of mystery and the human quest for meaning in a world often shrouded in uncertainty.